Okay.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. And if you're with the Senior Source, I'm welcome and I'm glad you're here. Today we will have Jeff Morris with us. He has been a friend of the Senior Sources for a very long time, since I've started working there about 10 years ago. And he is about to kind of go over Career DFW and what all he offers. And at the Senior Source itself, if you're not familiar, we do have an employment program that offers career coaching. We can do resume help and job leads. And, once we get more in person, we used to have job fairs and hiring events and things like that for people age 50 and above, and everything is free. So just make sure to keep in touch. If you are interested in our employment program and you're not already enrolled, just feel free to call our main number at 214-823-5700. And I will hand it over to Jeff.
Great. Thank you very, very much. All right. Move a few things around here on my screen. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to tell you a little background about me, how I got started, how I got involved in the career game. My background has nothing to do with career counseling, but it's just something I've sort of picked up over the last few years, the last several years. A little history of CareerDFW and CareerUSA, .org, how it got started. We will take a look at the websites live on the internet, as long as the internet cooperates. Then we're going to spend the rest of the time on focusing on 4 areas of the job search to really focus on. And if you have questions, please just put them in the chat box, or if you, for those people on Facebook, you're welcome just to put the comments into the comment field. I am monitoring that feed and I'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. So my background, I've got 20 plus years in light manufacturing. I've been in videotapes. I produced videotapes for many years, but for some reason you all got fascinated with those little round shiny things called CDs and DVDs, and so we had to close out that business. Then after that, we went to, I've been in printing press accessories. I've been in, printing press accessories, high dollar curtains, plumbing, bathroom remodeling. So light manufacturing for 20 plus years. In 2007, I started facilitating and I lead the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. We meet every Friday morning. The group's been around since the late 1990s. And in 2007, the guy who was leading it, got a job, said, who wants to take over? And I think I scratched my face and he said, okay, Jeff, you're it. So you get to run the meeting. And I've been doing that ever since. In 2008, November 17th, 2008 is when I officially launched CareerDFW.org. And the reason for it is because there wasn't, you could drive down the street and there wasn't a sign in front of the senior source saying unemployed, come here this morning at 10 o'clock. Or there wasn't a sign by the church down the street saying unemployed, come here tonight at 6:30. So I thought, let's try to put all this stuff together and let's combine all these things and make a calendar and a list of events and everything. So that's what was the reason I started CareerDFW, to try to make it easier for job seekers in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We became a Texas nonprofit corporation 8 months after we launched. 11 months after that, I also filed paperwork at the same time. And 11 months after launch in October of 2009, we became a 501c3. I thought it was very important for everybody to understand that CareerDFW is a true nonprofit. We're following all the rules and regulations, just like the Senior Source is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Any donations you make to our organizations are fully tax deductible, and we're following all the rules and regulations per that. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It's a collection of these little one things that people talk about. So, since 2007, I've been leading the North Dallas group, and I bring in speakers 3 out of every 4 Fridays of the month. So during that time, the speakers will always have a great topic, or they'll talk about one thing. And I always try to make sure I take away one thing during that presentation to be able to take with it. And this book is a compilation of those little one things that I learned over time. My brain was getting full. I had to do a brain dump. Right now, the brain's about 70% full again, so I may have to do another brain dump here in another year or so and make a second edition of the book. It is available on Amazon. All the proceeds from the book go to support CareerDFW. In September of 2012, I was invited to go to the White House Forum on Job Clubs and Career Ministries. The Department of Labor was making some phone calls, found First United Methodist Church over in Richardson and called them up and said, yeah, I'm trying to find some information about career stuff in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You know, who can we talk to? And they said, well, you got to talk to Jeff because he knows everything going on in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So they got hold of me. They said they had this conference coming up. I went to this conference and it was really great. There were 110 people from all over the United States, from California to Florida, from New York City to the Seattle area. The cool thing about it, I was the only representative from Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, you know, from around these parts. I was really the only person from Texas there. But the cool thing is that I learned that there really is no other website. Nobody else is thinking of the bigger picture like I was with CareerDFW. Other groups may have had their small little websites for their business or, you know, for their nonprofit, but they weren't thinking about what can I do for the entire city. So when I came back from that conference in Washington, D.C., I decided to go ahead and launch CareerUSA.org in 2012. I owned the name. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. But after being in Washington and seeing what everybody else was doing, it was just like, okay, there's a need. Let me see how I can help people. And we'll show you both the sites here in just a couple minutes. How does CareerDFW survive? We survive by volunteers like you. You are the eyes and ears of the website. If you see something, please let me know. If you don't see it on my website, please let me know. If you know about a group that's meeting in person, please let me know. If you know about a group that's not meeting anymore, if they've dissolved totally, please let me know so I can update the calendar and share it and share that information with everybody in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have no employees, no full-time, no part-time employees. Everything I've done over the last 13 years has been as a volunteer. I don't get paid to do any of this. I don't take any money out of the organization. I put in the first couple $1,000 to get us started, but donations have carried us on since then and paid for any of the expenses that we've had to pay for. The donations pay for business card back when we were handing out business cards, not that we're not meeting in person anymore, but it currently pays for Zoom. It pays for the web names, the web hostings, and any of the filings that we have to do. Anything I can't get donated that I have to pay for comes out of donations. Also, like I mentioned earlier, all the proceeds from the book go to support CareerDFW. When we started CareerDFW at the same and Career USA, we started LinkedIn groups because LinkedIn is very, very important. We started the CareerDFW LinkedIn group in November of 2008, currently 12,900 members. I think I'm like 8 or 9 members away from 13,000. So you could be number 13,000 if you haven't joined yet. Reach out after the session and go take a look and see, and maybe you'll be number 13,000. We also have a Career USA group that we started at the same time. You're welcome to join one, join both, whatever's convenient for you. Let me also say here, also, we're currently on Facebook. There's several people watching us on Facebook right now. Please follow us on Facebook because all of our programming that we do broadcast live on Facebook. And so if you like us on Facebook, you'll find out about our program. You'll find out about what's going on right away. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, this video, along with all of our other videos, are up on the YouTube channel, and you'll be able to go back and watch these again, just to make it easier for you, so you can watch things at your convenience. So let's take a look at the websites. I am going to be looking at a different monitor over here, so that's why I won't be looking directly at you because the way I've sort of got things set up right now. So this is the CareerDFW website. We've got links across the top of the screen. As you come down, you'll see a career tip of the week. There's a couple screens here at the very beginning. Here's a career tip of the week. We'll talk more about that in just a couple minutes. If you're trying to find a networking group in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, or a webinar, or somebody who's meeting via online, you can click right here where you see it changing from orange to white, and it will take you to a calendar of all the events that are currently online, and it'll make it so you can find other things you can do during the day. If you know somebody who just lost their job, you can have them click right here. It will take you to an article that has a lot of links for some really great things to take people step by step. Here's the first thing you should do when you get unemployed. Here's the next thing you need to do while you're unemployed, and on and on. So it's a great little resource for people that I've put together with a lot of other resources that I've pulled in from other experts. I thought it was important that you know that you're not the only person online. So every time you go to a new page on the website, every time it updates and it tells you how many people are currently on the website. So I thought it was important for you to know that you're not the only person out there looking for a job. Right here in the middle, where you see CareerDFW training, here's a calendar, and this calendar will always have the current list of programming that CareerDFW is putting on. So this right here, find out about CareerDFW, that's where we're currently at right here. Today at 1 o'clock, we have a LinkedIn session, tomorrow interviewing, Thursday resumes, and then Friday groups are listed, and then it keeps going, and you can see what's happening next week on the list. So you can click on any one of these events, and it will open up and tell you the Zoom link, and it'll have the Facebook link. So you can click right there to find out what's going on. If you'd like to join the LinkedIn group, please just click right here, and it'll take you to the Join Now page. So you can join. If you're already a member, it'll take you to the member page. You can see what's going on in CareerDFW. If you want to join the CareerUSA.org LinkedIn group, you're welcome to do that. You're welcome to join both groups, like I said. If you'd like to buy a copy of the book, you can click right here. It'll give you a couple options on what you can do as far as how to buy a book. If you'd like to donate, you can click right here to donate. It'll tell you there's a couple options on different ways how you can donate. And so let's go take a look at the calendar. So the calendar is really what people come to this website for, because it's got everything on there that's going on in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So here's everything going on in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so there's always something to do. So that if you're sitting at home and you're not sure what to do next or where to go, please check this out. So the red line is currently where we are right now. And if we open up this GOAT event, you'll see that this is how to use CareerDFW. So all the GOAT events are special one-time workshops or events that are happening. Pink, as you see up here at the very top, pink are job fairs. So tomorrow, there happens to be a job fair at Tarrant County Virtual Job Fair from 9 to 2 o'clock. And there's a link down here. It'll tell you, link right here, on how to find out more about that information right there. So all the events are happening. All these purple events that you see here, these are all webinars that are going on. So you can find out different things that are happening with different training sessions, different meetings. Any of these purple things that you click right here, you'll be able to find the sessions that are going on. All the GOAT events are networking meetings. And then occasionally, like here on this Saturday, I found a place if you want to recycle stuff. I'll post, if there's a free walking tour or something, I'll try to tend to post things on here sometimes. And those will be in the red events. And don't forget to scroll down, because sometimes you'll see there's always usually events happening at nighttime also. So be sure to check down a little bit lower. All right. So across the top of the calendar, just going to explain a few things. There's a couple of different areas here. So let's say it's Saturday and you want to see what's going on next week. If you click on this little blue arrow right here, it's facing to the right, next period. Up comes, here are events that are happening next week. And you can see there's already a job fair. It looks like there's 2 job fairs happening next week, one on Tuesday and one on Thursday. So, if you're interested in checking those out, you can check that information out. And then be very careful. There is a print button here. You can print this calendar out, but always preview first, because there's so much information here that there's a lot of parameters that you can pick to really scope down what you're printing. So preview first, because if you're printing off 15 pages of stuff and you go, I only need 1 page, go change things, because there's a lot of information on there. This is the week view. There is a month view, but it's a waste of time, because everything says here's 16 more events, here's 18 more events, here's 18 more, so it's not very useful, for the month view. But this agenda view is very, very useful, because what will happen, and what's going on here, it's stuck in something. Here we go. So here's the agenda for today. So this is starting from the very first thing that happened this morning. And so here we are right now. So this is the event we're doing. You can click on things, you open it up. It's in the exact same colors as everything else. So you can find out other events that are happening. You can click and you can open up. It'll have all the information on here. Now, one of the things I want to tell you is that every event will say more details. There is never more details because I've put all the details that I know in the calendar, okay? So there'll never be any more details. Also, it says here, copy to my calendar. If you happen to be using a Google Calendar, and that's what this is, if you click on this, it will automatically put this event on your calendar for you. So you don't have to sit there and copy it over there. So if it's a Sunday or Monday and you're trying to figure out what you want to do for the week, you can just pop these events onto your calendar if you use a Google Calendar. Now, there's a lot of things on here, as I said, and sometimes, you know, there's all these different, let me go back here. So here's what's all for, whoops. What happened for today here? Here we go, today. So here's everything for today. So this last little down arrow, here's a little trick for the day that you probably want to really know about. If you click on this, you can go and turn different layers on and off. So let's turn off, we're going to leave just special events and job fairs that are happening. And
okay.
So now we've cut down and now we're only looking at those couple of events that are happening here. If we go back to the week view, you'll see, oh, it's a lot easier to see because there's not as much stuff on there.
Okay.
You can always go back, you can add, go add stuff back in. Okay, so like this purple event, like I said before, webinars and teleseminars, these are all the workshops that are happening online that you can click on and find something to do online, just with that webinar calendar. If you just wanted to see, you know, so you can click things back on and off. It makes it a lot easier to use. So let me go back to the home page of the calendar for a second. So the calendar, so we were looking at the everything calendar. If you just want to see job fairs, you can click right here. If you just want to see workshops that are happening, you can just click here. If you just want to find networking groups, you can just click here, and so on down the line. So, but on all these other layers, so from here to here, you only can see that one layer. You cannot add back in the other calendars. Okay, so if you want to see multiple calendars, you need to use the everything calendar. Also over here on the very right-hand side, let me point these out. This right here will take you to the CareerDFW LinkedIn page. This will take you to our Facebook page. Our Twitter feed, I think, is not tweeting right now. I think it got frozen out from the cold spell. Our Instagram feed, you're welcome to click here to get to our Instagram feed. Here, this will take you to our YouTube channel. And down here, if you like,
I have a question.
Yeah, just a second. If you
just I'm having trouble hearing you. I was wondering if you can turn your volume up somehow, because I don't know how to turn you up. There's construction work going on just across the street.
Yeah, I have no way to adjust the outgoing volume from my speaker. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
That's why I use headphones always. I always make sure for my speaker that I'm listening via headphones because it cuts out a lot of the other noise. So, you know, these controls are all right here, and this will be true on every page. All right, so let's take a look at the group page. So on groups, and this was really the very, very first page of the website. So this is a list of all the networking groups that are meeting, and they're in the same color. So these would be all the blue events that are on the calendar. Career workshops, if you're trying to find a group that has a reoccurring session, like it's a 4-week, 8-week, 12-week program, and then it repeats itself over and over and over again, all those groups are right here in the career workshops. I would point out networking groups on a map, but since none of us can go anyplace right now and none of the groups are meeting in person, I'll skip that, but there is a map there when groups start meeting back in person. Professional organizations. This, I think, is a very, very important list to check on, because when you click on this list, up will come a list of all the professional organizations in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And a lot of these groups, for those of you who are watching outside the DFW area, there'll be groups like this in your community also. So please check it out. There's I think there's like 8, if you were to print this out, there's like 18 pages of networking, of professional networking groups. So this is a great way to connect with other people who do what you do. So check that part out.
Hear you. Oh.
So that'll be very, very beneficial. Just check that part out. All right, the next tab over is the About tab. Now, it's really strange to put an About tab in the middle of a website, especially in the banner section. But the Resource tab, Tip of the Week, Job Board, and Humor section are all on CareerUSA.org because those are generic to anybody in the United States. So the About Us section's right here. Here's just a small little section about why I started CareerDFW. If you're interested in my trip to the White House, you can click here and find out about my review at the White House. We've got our running blog here of our history of CareerDFW. This You Said We Did. This is those nice comments that you send. And I'll stick them on here, and I'll put your first initial, last, or your first name, last initial, and what profession you're in. Those are the pat on the back. So when it's midnight, instead of me being in bed, I'm working on the website. This reminds me why I do what I do. Our mission statements right here, our goals that we've got for CareerDFW. We've been in the news a couple times. And then we've got a series of buttons. If you're welcome to add buttons to your website to cross back and forth. Here are links, and I've got a series of buttons that you can click on that you can add. If you want to contact us, there should be email addresses on most every page. Currently, me, myself, and I, the three of us, we handle everything. So you can email any one of these 3 emails, and we will take care of it, and we will make sure everybody can, we'll update that whatever needs to be updated. So like I said, these other 3 things, these other tabs are on the Career USA. So if you were to click on this, it'll just launch CareerUSA.org, and CareerUSA.org looks like this. The USA website's in red, white, and blue. I thought I sort of had to do that. The DFW site's in orange because orange happens to be one of my favorite colors. Same format, same layout of everything. Drop down menus across the top, a couple different menus here on the very front. Career tip of the week, we'll talk about here in just a second. If you know somebody who just lost their job, please tell them to click right here. It'll be a real good benefit. Currently, so this is interesting. So currently there's 117 guests online. Like I said, this will change as we update it. And there's 1 member. When you see that there's 1 member online, or more than 1 member, that means they have logged in to post a job. You do not have to log in anywhere to view anything on the website. The only time you have to log in is if you want to post a job on the job board. And I'll show you that in just a second. So right here in the middle, Career USA training. So you can click on any one of these events. These are the same things that are on CareerDFW. This will get you to the Zoom links, of all the programming we have coming on, along with the Facebook links, and tells you what's coming up. You can click on those things right there. LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to click in right here to get those done. And like I said, everything else is laid out pretty much the same as CareerDFW. So when we go to the group tab, the group tab's a little bit different, because here, instead of having a calendar or a list of groups in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, here are groups that I have found around the United States. So if you live in Atlanta or Chicago or Cleveland, or if you clicked on the DFW area, it'll take you to CareerDFW. But people in Houston, Kansas City, Minneapolis, New Jersey. So here are a bunch of different areas that are listed. If you live someplace and you don't see a group of a listing, and you know of groups in your area, please let me know so I can add them to my distribution, so I can add them to the email list, or put them on this website so I can help other people find networking groups in their area. The resource tab. So this is really the bulk of the website. This is like a giant file cabinet. So back in 2008, there were not a lot of resources out there to help people with information. So one of the things that I did was, this is a giant file cabinet. And I have hundreds, I probably have over 1,000 different articles on different subjects on there. What do I do now? I just got laid off. How to write a cover letter, business cards, how to put together a good resume. What do you do before, during, and after an interview? Practicing interview questions with answers so you can practice with people. So all that information is here. If you click on career files, it'll open up a series of folders that you can look at. If you're trying to find websites that are out there, you can click right here under websites, and this will take you to a different list of different kinds of websites that are out there. If you think you want to start your own, if you think you're interested in starting your own job, I have a website for entrepreneurs. If you're a veteran, I have a list of veteran resources that I've accumulated over the last several years after being invited to go to some veterans conferences on employment. So things that are strictly for veterans and their spouses are on here. So there's tons of different things here. You can just go and you find out what's on here. All right, the career tip of the week. This is also known sometimes as Jeff's pet peeve, because what will happen is at my Friday meeting, when we were meeting in person, here's a story that happened. I had a person come in. He said, I had this great interview on Wednesday, and they asked for my references. So I gave them a list of references. So do you think I should contact my references and let them know they could be contacted? I sort of hit my head against the wall a couple of times, and I said, yes, that would be a very good idea. And I went home and I wrote a blog about that. So every week I post a different blog. These are short little reads, 3 to 5 minutes. This week, Meet Empathy, a career power tool. Most of these tips are all written by other people who I get links of, and I find really interesting articles. These are those V8 moments. You'll read it and go, oh yeah, I should be doing that. That's really simple in my job search. My favorite career tips are right over here. I've sort of kept the list of my favorite ones right here. These are the ones, if you want to go back and read these first, I think these are really, really good. I always put this name tag one on top now. Nobody's meeting in person, but when you do get meeting back in person, people need to have a name tag, not those little handwritten ones. And there's a science behind name tags, and that article's written right here on here. My second pet peeve is 5 minutes. 5 minutes early is on time is late. You want to always be early to a meeting because it just shows that it makes you look good. But yeah, here are all sorts of other things, and you can go back and read all the tips. They're all here all the way back to 2009 when I got started. So all those articles are on there. I'll talk about the job board. I don't like this job board. I was forced to use it when we had to go through a security update, and the security update forced me to do away with the old job board because it wasn't security compliant. The one I'm using, I'm not happy with. I hope to find a new one soon. The couple rules are jobs only stay posted for 21 days and they go away. So automatically 21 days after the job is posted, the job disappears, because I'm sure you've gone to some church websites or other websites and jobs are posted for weeks and weeks or for months. 6 months later, the job is still there. So that's why we try to, I try to, just my rule on there, rule about this. This is the only place you're going to see a log in and log out button. Like I said, you do not need to log in and out unless you're posting a job. So just to view jobs, you don't need to do anything there. So here's the most current job. It's been posted. Somebody outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area has found me. So here's Massachusetts, Florida, Iowa, Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, jobs all over. So that's the current one on top. Currently, there's 639 jobs that are posted here. It also rotates. It's everyone's page by 30. So what's the easiest way to view these jobs? Don't use the search box because it's broken. Don't use the little advanced search option because it's broken. The easiest way to use this is filter by category. So when somebody posts a job, they have to put a job in a category. So as you see here, when you drop down this little thing here, you'll see that there's currently 4 construction jobs, 2 customer service jobs, 1 engineering job, 229 general label jobs, 3 in healthcare. So here's 1 QA job. So click here. That's the easiest way. You'll see that one job, or you'll see those 3 or 4 jobs, and you can quickly go, yep, and move on to something else if that's not what you want. Like I said, I'm not happy with this job board. I hope to replace it sometime soon. The humor section. If you ever get to work for me, every Friday I put out the Friday Funny. I think it's important for people to understand and have a good time and enjoy work. And when we rebuilt the websites, I asked engineers, you know, can you give me a pair of eyeballs that go back and forth? I want a big nose and a big fuzzy eyebrows like Groucho Marx to go, what are you doing on this page right now? You should be out looking for a job. Well, between 8 and 5 on a work day, Monday through Friday, these little eyeballs will pop up here to remind you to go look for a job. But if you really need to go find a joke or a cartoon or a video or a thought for the day, I've got some articles here. So let me share my favorite cartoon. Well, this is always a good one here. I'm so sorry about being late for the interview. I got lost trying to follow the crazy directions here. And where were they going? They were going to MapQuest. Remember MapQuest from years ago? Let me show you my other funny one I really like. Need to move it to the top. I just always think this is a great cartoon here about a job interview. You're going to work for IKEA. Everything at IKEA you have to put together. So, you know, go to IKEA, see how good you are. So that's the humor section. Don't go there during the week, Monday through Friday. During the week, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Go out, look for a job, contact people, pick up the phone, but do not waste your time with this. Do this nights and weekends. All right, the About Us section here is just like CareerDFW. In fact, a lot of it links right back over, so I'm not going to really talk about it. So those are the websites. Any questions about the websites before we move on? All right, I'll move back on. Let's see here. All right, so just to remind people, just a reminder, we collect no personal information from the websites. If you saw there was no place to log in unless you're going to post a job, and there's no cost to use either of the sites. Both of them are totally free. I just wanted to be able to provide the information to help you out. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to talk about 4 areas to focus on in your job search. You know, everything sort of changed when COVID hit and you couldn't go see people in person. So the 4 areas that I want to talk about, number 1 is you've got to have your resume perfected. And we're going to talk about resumes here in just a second. You've got to have then your LinkedIn profile robust and complete. Then you've got to practice interviewing. I'm sure you spend lots of hours maybe working on your resume, but then when it comes to interviewing, you don't practice at all. You don't get ready for an interview. So we'll talk a little bit about interviewing. And then the most important step here is once you've done steps 1, 2, and 3, then you're ready to go out and network. And how do you network and who do you network with? So one of the reasons, you know, when COVID started, a lot of these networking groups went away. CareerDFW and CareerUSA, I came up with, we need to put on programming to help people via Zoom and via Facebook. So every Monday at 1 o'clock, we do a networking session. Every Tuesday, today at 1 o'clock, we're going to do a LinkedIn session. Every Wednesday, we do an interviewing session, and every Thursday, we do effective resumes. And then Friday morning is my North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group that meets every Friday morning. It's been meeting since the 1990s. All right, so let's talk about resumes first. Number 1, people, when you write, I've had people come to my Friday meeting and, you know, I say, how's your job search going? Oh, I'm still working on my resume. I don't want to do anything to get my resume really perfected. And a couple of weeks later, I ask again, same answer. They just get analysis paralysis. They just spend so much time trying to figure out what to do on their resume. And it can just stop you dead in your, you just don't get anything else done. And you've got to be very, very careful with that. So number 1, my first question and my suggestion is everybody should have a master resume. And when I say, what is a master resume, Jeff? A master resume is a 10 or 15 or 20 page resume that has everything you've ever done since you got started in your job search. Okay. So you put everything on it. You put all the job titles, all the positions you've had since high school, your bosses, addresses, exact dates. You want to put everything on there that you can, because you want to make it easy. You want to make it easy that when you see a job, you don't have to think about these things. You can just immediately go and come up with a new resume by deleting all the stuff that's not important. Okay, so please remember, your resume is just a hook. Okay, people want to spend so much time on their resume, they think it's so important. Listen, a resume gets people, a recruiter is going to look at a resume for 7 to 10 seconds. That's it. And you've spent hours on it. So you've got to be very diligent in what you're doing here. Your resume is just a hook to get them to call you up. So you've got to be prepared. That's why I say you spend time on your resume. Do you spend time interviewing? Do you spend time being prepared for that phone call? You have got to customize every resume you send out. And most importantly, you have to keep to the details of the job description. So if you have that master resume, the easy thing to do is save as. So you've taken your big document, you save a copy of it, and then you start editing that copy and you delete everything that's not in the job description. I'm sure you've done a lot of great things over the years, and you can tell stories about it. But the only thing the recruiter cares about is, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. I'm looking for a resume that matches with X, Y, Z. If you tell them X, Y, Z and Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, they don't get the connection. And you want to make it as easy as you can for the recruiter. Okay. So customize every resume you send out. Keep to the job descriptions. If they don't ask for it in the job description, don't mention it. Make it easy. So if your resume is only 1 page, great. But if it matches what they want in the job description, great. If it's 2 pages, if it's 3 pages, cut it down to only talk about what's in the job description. You've got to make sure that you use all of your bullet points have to have results. Dollars are preferred, percentages next, or numbers. I had a lady I was talking with, and he said, well, I just answer the phones here. You know, what kind of results do I have? I said, well, on an average work week, how many phone calls do you get a week? Oh, I get around 500 phone calls a week. I said, how many people do you have to distribute those phone calls to? Well, there's 23 people who, you know, I have direct connections with. I said, okay, well, there's the statistics. You answer over 500 phone calls a week, distributing those to 23 people. Let people know what it is, but give them details. As I mentioned before, never send a resume out blindly, okay? So if they don't ask for it, don't tell them, okay? If you have a job description, great. Do not post your resume on LinkedIn, because what are you posting on LinkedIn? If you post your resume on LinkedIn, you're not posting for a job description, you're posting a generic resume. That's not going to help you, because what if they're looking for a customer relationship specialist, but you were a customer service rep? They may not get it, because when they do that search, you're not going to come up. Customer service rep and customer relationship special, those are 2 separate things. Even though they're the exact same type, the exact same role, in the search, it's not going to come up the same. All right. You may want to consider, if you're going to post something on LinkedIn, consider a 1-page bio. Okay. All right. For ATS systems, applicant tracking systems. Number 1, do not use any special characters or any special formatting. Okay, so the only thing that you can really use is a plain bullet. Don't use carets or anything else special, because it'll mess up. There's around 350 different ATS systems that are out there. All right, everyone operates a little bit different. So you've got to be prepared for the most generic of all of them. And the most important thing with an ATS system is keywords. Okay. You do not want to use the header section in Microsoft Word. Do not use headers and footers, okay? And you've got to make sure that those keywords align to the job description. So whatever keywords are in the job description, you've got to make sure those are on your resume. You want it to be the same kind of information. All right, you want to make sure you focus on results and accomplishments. I've talked about that. You've got to be very, very careful. I see a lot of resumes and the resume reads like a job description. Tells me what you're supposed to do. It doesn't tell me what you did. There's no results, okay? No accomplishment. That's what's going to sell you into a job. So I like to play the game called So What? Read that job, read the bullet point you have there and say, so what? If you need to have somebody else do it and say, well, so what? So what? So you did this, what was the result? Then rewrite it and get that result in there. It'll be very, very good. If you can, try to use an action verb to start every bullet point. Action words are great. And most recruiters will tell you that they only read the first 3 to 5 words in a bullet point. They're quickly scanning. So those first 3 to 5 words have got to capture. So you've got to have an action verb and a result in those first few words. Keep it simple. The job of a resume is to whet the appetite. It is to get them to call you up. It's not to provide the recipe. It's not to tell them all the details of who you are. You just want to get that phone call. Okay, so here are some common resume mistakes I see all the time. Spelling and grammatical errors. Every recruiter will tell you, as soon as I see an error, I throw the resume away or I go to the next resume. Why? When you apply for a job or something, they could have 300 resumes. So what are they there really doing? They're not there to try to find the best person. They're there to find the top 10 or 15 people that don't have any mistakes and don't have any reason for me to throw you into the throwaway pile. Okay, so you've got to be very, very careful with spelling or grammatical errors. Number 2, you've got to have a good email address. No crazycatlady@gmail.com. Okay, you know, Jeff Morris, PMP@gmail.com or something. Use something that's professional. If you need to get a second email address, get an email address just for your job search. You want to make sure, common mistakes. We talked about this already. You want to demonstrate and quantify results. Results sell. There are a lot of buzzwords out there. I'm dedicated. a lot of buzzwords out there and phrases. It's very generic. If it's not in the job description, don't put them on your resume. And if you have a resume format that's too elaborate, you have bullets and bars and a box around the whole resume, an ATS system is just going to kick that out. It won't even read that. So you've got to be very, very careful. Now, that's fine if you're going to give somebody hand them a copy of the resume. And when you go in for an interview, you want to take printed resumes with you so they have a good looking version of your resume. Other mistakes, people, too much text. They'll have a summary statement at the top of the resume, and it could be 5 or 6 lines, 3 lines maximum, 5 to 6 bullet points underneath the job, not 8 or 10 or 15. You've got to be very distinct with everything you do. You've got to make sure that you're in the right tense. All your past jobs need to be past tense. These are things you used to do. These aren't things you do anymore, okay? Your current job should be in present tense, unless you're talking about a project that you've completed last year or a couple of years ago that you're talking about. That could be in past tense. You don't need to mention references available upon request. If that's just unnecessary wordage, don't do that. You've got to customize to match the job description. Very, 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 very important. And do not include, you've got to make sure you include your LinkedIn address. Now, be sure that when you put your LinkedIn address on your resume, do not make it a hot link. So you need to make sure you take away that line that's underneath there, because there are some ATS systems that won't read anything with an underline. It'll just freeze the system up. So you just want the plain text on there so that it can be cut and paste. So just as a warning, do not hot link your LinkedIn address on a resume.
Jeff, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Going back one slide about buzzwords.
Yes.
Like if the job description has, anywhere from 100 to 150 buzzwords, and you're supposed to match on that job description, there's no other way than to use those buzzwords, but you're saying don't go beyond those buzzwords that they're using. Is that?
Use the buzzwords that they're using. I mean, the ones at the top of the job description are the most important. The ones that are at the beginning of the sentence are more important than the ones at the end of the sentence. So you want to use those buzzwords, because if you use other buzzwords, the ATS system doesn't care about them, because it's trying to match your resume to the job description. And that's what it's doing. It's taking the keywords from the job description over. So when you're doing that resume, if it doesn't, everybody here has Microsoft Office skills. You don't need to list Microsoft Office on your resume unless in the job description it says Microsoft Office or Microsoft Excel or PowerPoint or pivot tables. So if it mentions, the object here is how can you match up? So the job description is your guide. Try to match, take the keywords from it. Yeah, you may not be able to match all 150 keywords, but try to get as many of them as you can. And if you need to change a word that you have in your profile, on your resume, just trying to get it in there, that's beneficial.
And you're saying don't go beyond that? Like if you have other skills that could be beneficial, you're saying don't include that?
The ATS won't care about them. Those are unnecessary words. For an ATS, the object here is to get that phone call. And you're going to get that phone call because you've matched what they're looking for. Now, when you get that phone call and you get that email address and you can talk to the person, you get an email address, you can then send them a resume that has more complete information.
Okay.
But this is a game. The game is, I want to get that phone call. How can I get a recruiter to reach out to me? Okay. And like I said, everybody here has done a lot of fabulous, wonderful things, but if they don't ask for it and they didn't put the job description, they're not going to search for something. The ATS isn't going to search for something that's not in that job description, because that's what was loaded and that's what it's trying to compare to. When you talk to somebody in person, I know there's this person and she tells me, I never ever send a resume until I've had a phone call with somebody, because I want to find out exactly what they're looking for so I can customize my resume to meet their needs. What are the most important things they need done? Okay. Well, we talk about resumes every Thursday at 1 o'clock. So you're welcome to join us every Thursday at 1 o'clock. We're on Zoom, we're on Facebook Live. So for those watching us on Facebook Live, hopefully you'll follow us and you'll come back, join us on Thursday, every Thursday at 1. And also one of the other things we've got a license for jobscan.co, and we are giving away free every session. Every Thursday, we give away 2 licenses. You get to use jobscan.co for 1 month, and you can compare your resume to the JobScan compares your resume to a job description and tells you how good a match and things that you may or may not want to correct to become a better match. So we give that away. Join us. All of our past sessions are up on the YouTube channel, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. So join us every Thursday. We're here. We're talking about resumes. All right, so now I want to talk about LinkedIn a little bit. So we talk resumes. And listen, there's lots more we can talk about for any of these subjects. I could talk hours on resumes, hours on LinkedIn, hours on interviewing, hours on networking, but we've only got another 45 minutes here, and I want to, try to keep things, try to give you a few highlights, try to whet your appetite, and hopefully you'll come back and join us for our other sessions that we're putting on. So LinkedIn, you've got to make sure you have a profile that's current and fully developed, okay? And by fully developed, I mean, you need to fill it out, okay? You need to have a job, you need to have your jobs listed, where you used to work at. You need to have bullet points underneath there, because those bullet points contain keywords. And when a recruiter does a search, they search for keywords. So if you just have a company name listed, that doesn't do you any good, because people don't search for people who used to work at AT&T. They're searching for people who used to be a project manager. Okay, does your profile tell a company how you can help them? Remember, companies don't offer people positions because they have a lot of extra money and they just want to have people on the payroll. They have a problem. You're a problem solver. What is it that you do to solve problems? Okay, that's what you have to just keep that whole mindset. How can I help you? Can somebody reach out to you easily? This is a huge pet peeve of mine. I see on LinkedIn all the time. You have a profile, but you have no contact information. You have no email address. You have no phone number. You want to make sure that in your contact information that you fill that out in the contact field and put it in your about section. Make it easy for people to reach out to you. Now, let me show you here's my home page. If you go to look at my LinkedIn profile, I actually put my email address and my phone number right there. So if anybody was to search, they don't have to open up contact information down. They don't have to click on contact information down here. They just, here it is, right up here at the very, very top. I make it easy for people. So this program that I used to build this was called Canva, canva.com. It's a free program that allows you to build banners, and just say you're trying to build a LinkedIn banner. It's got a whole bunch of pictures and you can add things. This is two different pictures as well as a little bit of text. All right. You want to make sure you customize your URL link. If you're new to LinkedIn, if you're just getting started, you can go and edit your URL link, meaning that you can put your first, because right now you'll know that it does your first name dash, last name dash, and then a whole bunch of ABCQRS 6942. So you want to get rid of that 6942 bit and just have your name if possible. So go edit that if you can. Number two, you want to have a professional email address, as we've already talked about, and you want to list the closest large city and state if you want to work in an area. So if you lived in Prosper, you may want to list the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, true, if you live in Prosper, you may want to not have to drive to Fort Worth, but that's an option you could take. Now, if you just want to put Dallas, you could list Dallas because that's bigger, than it would be for Prosper. Or you can still listing Richardson or Plano or some small cities around the DFW area. So think about putting in the biggest city. If you want to work in Seattle, I would list Seattle, because that way people are going to find you, because they're going to go, oh, I'm searching for somebody who lives in the Seattle area. Make sure you have a focused title at the top of your, at the very top. You want to make sure you tell people that you are a marketing brand manager. You're a front-end Java front-end engineer. Make sure those titles, that title statement after your name, is a job title that you're looking for. LinkedIn has increased it from 120 characters to 220 characters now, so you can have 4 or 5 different job titles listed there. Tell people what it is you do and make sure those job titles are the same as what would be on a job description. Okay. Always send a personal note with a LinkedIn invite. Another pet peeve of mine is I get LinkedIn invitations every day from people. Hopefully nobody here has done that yet, but if you have, you got to make sure you send me a personal note, because I will not connect with you if you don't do that. If I get this generic invitation, hi Jeff, I'd like to join your LinkedIn network, I hit the ignore button. Okay, tell me why we should meet. Even if you're on a cell phone, you can send a personal note. Now I think this little more button there where that red arrow is on the left has been replaced by the little hamburger symbol. But when you click on that, it should open up a thing that says personalized invite. Always, always, always send a personalized invite. Always, always, no matter who you send one to, because it gives me a reason why we should connect. People want to connect with me and sell me life insurance. I just ignore those people. But people say, oh, I saw you at your presentation you gave today. I really appreciate what you did. It really is beneficial, and I really, really appreciate it. And I'm glad to connect with anybody in the career game. Okay, you've got to make sure you complete your profile to receive all-star status, okay? So number one, you've got to have a current position, a location, an industry, a summary, and at least 5 skills, education, and photo. So these are the things that you have to have right now. Now, wait a second, Jeff. I don't have a current job, a current position. Here's what you do. You create a current position and you put the job title that you're looking for. In the company field, you put your name, you put your email address and your phone number. That becomes your company name, your email address and phone number. And then you list 3 or 4 bullet points explaining what it is you do and what makes you good at being a project manager or a Java developer or whatever it is. You list it that way. That gets you a current job that you then delete when you get a real job, but it gets you a current job. And people with an all-star status are above people who are not an all-star status in search results. And LinkedIn will help you do this. You can ask LinkedIn for help and it'll take you through. Would you have any summaries? Do you have any industry you want to add, your companies? Do you have any more education things? Have you written any publications? It'll take you through step by step on, have you done this? Have you done that? Number 2, be sure to have a professional headshot. You've got to have a good looking photo on there. You just need to be from, shoulders to head, make sure you have a plain background. You don't want anything cluttered in the background. You want to make it easier for people to see you. You want to make sure you don't have a hand on your shoulder. Sometimes you see people will take a family photo and they'll crop it down to just you. Just make sure it's something good. Also, make sure it's something that's been in the last 3 to 5 years. I find photos on LinkedIn and I go and I talk to somebody and I go, you don't look anything like your photo. Well, yeah, that was from 15 years ago when I first got on LinkedIn. Go update your photo. Let people know what you look like. I updated mine. My profile picture now has my beard on it because I've had my beard for the last year.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes.
Question about current position. Like, I didn't used to, I just had one position previously, and then you talk to people and they say, like now I've got like 10 different things under my heading. Is that overkill? Because I was never one to do that. And they said, well, you're missing out. People are doing word searches and they're not catching you because you don't have the words up in your heading.
Well, 10, I think, is a little overkill. I mean, because then it's like you're a master of, you do lots of things, but you're a master of none. So I would maybe not more than 5 different job titles, but you can put job titles down in your profile. So if you've done other things, you could say as a project, the result, you put a result of what you did as a project manager or as a, list job titles so they pop up later on in a job description or in the industries and the jobs that you've done, in the bullet points you've done. And some places I've seen, if you have a funny, and I think I may talk about this in just a second, that if your job title, let's say your job title was a chief people person. Well, that's really not a job title you see very often, chief people person. That's an HR director. So it's okay, you could say chief people person and then put in parentheses, HR director, because that way it's going to pop up both of those. If somebody was to search for HR director, it'll pop up. It's doubtful that anybody's going to look for a chief people person.
Okay. And then are you saying, so if you're not working now, you're saying down below under companies, you're saying to make up, like if I'm not working now, but basically say that I'm working as a such and such. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, make it whatever the job title is that you want. So if you want to be a project manager, just put down project manager, and then in the title of and you could put a couple titles if you wanted to, and then you could list in the company name, phone number, and email address, and then underneath for a couple bullet points, put a couple bullet points about, looking for a new opportunity to do X, Y, and Z. How can I help you, to do that? I'll show you a profile. If you remind me at the very end of this, if we, I have time. I want to be conscious and let people out of here by 11:30, but I have time at the end. I can show you somebody's profile who did this. It looks really, really cool. So remind me at the end and I can show you one. I'll show you somebody's. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Let's see here. Next thing, headline. Make sure the job titles that you're applying for So if you're applying for a job title and you don't happen to have it in your job title, you may need to go edit and update your profile so that you're listing those jobs. Now, like I said, you don't want to have 10 job titles, list 4 or 5 and make it meaningful. You want to make sure that you're open to job opportunities. In settings, make sure that you open that up. Let recruiters know you're looking. There's also that discussion always about, do I want that green banner around my name, that brief saying open to work? Yes, you do. Here's why. You're open to work. There's a firm that I know, a recruiting firm. They have 30 people who work there. Of those 30 people, none of them pay for the recruiting package for LinkedIn. They just go and they network with people who they may know. So if you say you're open to new work to recruiters, but not to the general public, they're never going to see that you're open to work. Okay. So let people know. Also, by doing that, your acquaintances may look at your profile and go, oh, I didn't know, Joe, you're looking for a job right now. So it makes it a little bit easier. So always, turn that on. I saw somebody today just announcing that I'll be turning my reef off tomorrow as I start my new job. They're all happy about turning that off, and that's how they announced it. The green reef is going away. So, use it. Don't be embarrassed by it. At the beginning, it was a real, I don't know if I should do this, but yeah, if you're open to work, let people know. Listen, there's nothing wrong about looking for a job at this point. Think about how many people have been out of work. 20 years ago, when you were out of work, yeah, people didn't want to be by you because that unemployment bug could rub off on you. But nowadays, everybody's gone through it. You want to make sure your about section tells people who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. Okay. And then make sure it's full of keywords from your profession. If you look at my profile, you'll see at the bottom of my about section, you have like 2,000 characters. I probably have 50 different keywords so that if people are searching, they would find that and find it. So, look at other people's profiles. And if you see something good on it, go, oh, I can do that too. Or I've done that. I need to add that to my profile. All right. In your experience section, put your job title on here. And here we go. I say, if you have an unusual title, add the title that's used that be used in the industry. Just put it in parentheses. Okay. Be sure to put a description of your duties, include keywords from your profession. Make sure you have an education on there, list education, any awards, certificate, professional development, books, presentations, projects. I mean, LinkedIn now gives you so many places to really to fill a profile out to make it easier for people. You want to make sure you've got to have at least 5 skills listed. I think you should pick about 45 skills because you want to pick the top things that you've done. Now, you don't need to say that you were a manager. That's not important because manager is going to pop up all throughout. But maybe you want to be a mentor would be better than a manager. You don't need to list Microsoft Office unless you were primarily doing office work, okay? So, because everybody knows how to use Microsoft Office. Pick the skills that are the most important skills that you can think of. Go through the list, start typing them. It'll help pick things out for you. Then you want to have a couple recommendations. People say on LinkedIn seminars, they talk about you should have at least 2 or 3 recommendations from the last 6 to 12 months. Okay. So the easiest way to do this is you write the recommendation, you send it to a coworker or to a former boss. I've done this. I wrote a recommendation to my former boss. I said, John, in your review of me back dated whatever, you wrote the following. And I typed all this stuff in. I said, would you copy that and put that into a recommendation on my LinkedIn profile? And he did that. So I made it easy for him. Now, if I said, John, write me a recommendation, hey, Jeff was a good employee. It doesn't really tell me any of the skills, any of the details. So it's okay to give them a sample of, here's some things I was thinking about. Here's some things that I did while I worked at the company. Make it easy for them to go ahead and write you an endorsement. Okay, there are a couple privacy settings. There's 2 things that I think everybody's got to do. Number 1, you want to make sure you turn off viewers of this profile also viewed. if you've ever viewed people on, well, I'm sure you have, if you've used LinkedIn and you've profiled, you look at people on LinkedIn, on the right-hand side, you'll see, well, this right-hand side on the screen here, but on the right-hand side of the screen, it'll say people also viewed, or people like Jeff, and there'll be 10 people who are similar to who I am. Why do I want to do that? I'm here to promote me on LinkedIn, not these other people. But what you've now done is you've made it easy for the recruiter. If they look at you and go, well, let me see these other, oh, look, here's some other people who do the similar thing. Let me go look at their profiles. So make sure you turn that off. And then number 2, turn on, let recruiters know you're open to opportunities. We talked about that along with the green banner.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes.
So where's that in the account settings to turn that off?
Yeah, they keep moving it around. You just go through all the settings. Just
Okay.
go through, you'll find it. Every time I go look for it, it takes me about 5 minutes to click on this one, click on this one, click, and then I finally find it.
Okay. And the thing about like that green ring about open to work, like I had it on and then different networking groups say, don't turn it on. And other people say, turn it on. You're saying,
Turn it on.
is turn it on.
Yes, turn it on, and those other networking groups are wrong. I'll just tell you this right now. I'll just out now. The only time you probably don't want to do that is if you're currently working and you don't want your company to know you're looking.
Oh,
Okay. So you want recruiters to find you, but not, people who are using the LinkedIn recruiting package. Okay. But put it on because it can't hurt. Okay. Now, if you're an executive, you're a CFO or a CEO, okay, you may not want to do it because you're embarrassed because, I've been making $300,000 a year, $1 million a year, and I'm embarrassed and I'm out looking for a job. But you know what? Put it on there. Okay. Listen, I've been doing this for 13 years. At the beginning, I didn't think you should do it either, but the LinkedIn experts that I talked to all agree. And especially when I heard that one recruiting firm here in the DFW area, they have 30 recruiters and not one of them paid for the recruiting package, which means they would never know you're looking for a job. You would never pop up. So this way, by having that green thing on there, if you come up in their search, you'll go, oh, he is looking for a job. He is open to work. So I just, listen, there's no right or wrong in job search. You listen to people, you take their advice, you do what you feel comfortable with, okay? But in my opinion, turn on the green leaf.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, I was wondering, this goes back to when we were talking about what we're looking for and skills. What my work has been over the past many years has been substitute teaching. So I've been in charge of as many as 30 kids, 20 to 30 kids by myself. Can I count that as supervisory skills?
Well, number one, I pity you because I was a substitute teacher. I was a substitute teacher for 4 days and I said, I'm never going to do this again.
I understand. It's not an easy job.
I think you could. I would look at what other teachers, I would go to LinkedIn and look and see what other teachers put down and see the skills, what do they list? And to me, that's the best way. You just type in teacher and you see what pops up in there. And you'll see the way it's worded. I just think that's the best thing to do.
Okay, because I see that as supervisory skills, but like an office job or other jobs, they want to have someone who has been supervising adults, but it is a skill to supervise 20 to 30 kids by yourself.
It is. So you need to have a good story to talk about it. So, what's your story going to be? So that somebody asks you about it. Well, here was a time when I had 30 kids and this is what we had to do. And this is how we kept them. This is how I corralled them to make sure we got things done.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and get through. I want to go ahead and get through the last part of my presentation. Then, I can hang out till at least 12 o'clock. So if people want to ask questions, I'm more than willing to do that. Here's a really key point here. Always reply to any LinkedIn InMail or connection request. And here's the reason why. One of the options that recruiters have, if you pay the $10,000 recruiting package and you have the full-blown LinkedIn recruiting package, one of the very first options there is people who reply on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is keeping track of your replies. If you never reply and the recruiter clicks, I only want to talk to people who are going to be reply to an InMail or to a connection request, they want to find active people. You won't be in that search for them. Okay. I didn't know this until one of our LinkedIn presenters showed us this. And it was just like, wow, that is huge. So now, even if you don't want to connect with somebody, all you can say is thanks for the request, but no, thank you. Well, if you get an InMail, not interested, just reply, just show some activity that you respond to stuff you get on LinkedIn. Very, very important. This is something that I just found out about in the last really 4 or 5 months on LinkedIn. Okay, so you can join us I barely touch LinkedIn. Listen, we talk about it every Tuesday. Today at 1 o'clock, we're going to have our next LinkedIn session. Today's topic is LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn optimization, how to optimize your profile for a LinkedIn search. We've got 4 outstanding speakers who rotate through. So every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, we have a LinkedIn presentation. It is on Facebook. It's also going to be on Zoom. And so you can be able to do that. And you can also go back and you can watch all of our old ones on our YouTube channel. And I'll point that out in just a second. Okay, I want to talk about interviewing. I got 13, 14 minutes to get through the rest of this. Okay, interviewing. Number 1, you've got to be prepared for an interview. You'll spend lots and lots of time on a resume. I said, do you spend time?
I lost audio.
Yes, he's not talking, I don't think, or it
I
froze
think it
up.
froze. I think there's something on Jeff's end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to change my view options and suddenly I couldn't hear. Okay. From Enrique. Oh, I like that better.
It looks like Jeff is having some technical difficulties because it looks like he has dropped out of the meeting.
Uh-oh.
So it might be something on his network.
Oh.
I will go ahead.
Here, I'm going, wait a second, my backup screen wasn't moving. So it was like, all right, I definitely know I had an issue. So thank you for hanging in there. You want me to continue on?
Yes, please. Oh.
Please. All right. Let me share my screen. Hold on, I'm not going to start the recording yet because I want to get my backup computer recording. All right. So thank you for back. Sorry about that problem here. So interviewing, you've got to be prepared for an interview. What I was about to talk about was every bullet point on your resume should have a story. You've got to write them down, either on a cue card, type them up. You've got to prepare a playbook. You've got to be prepared. Spend a week getting all these details ready to go, okay? And if you write every bullet point that has results, that means you're actually writing a story. You're writing a star story about this situation that was on your bullet point. So make sure you do that. You've got to make sure that those answers and those stories that you write are between no more than 60 to 90 seconds. Nowadays, 45 to 60 seconds really is the max. You know, keep it really short, keep it really simple. Just make it, you've got to tell them a compelling story and it's got to be very distinct, okay? Be prepared for the following questions. Why do you want to work here? You've got to be ready to answer that question. It's not for the insurance. It's not because of the paychecks. You want to work here because this is a quality company and I like what they do. And I know I can help you all achieve your goals. How much did you make at your last job? You got to be that salary question. How much do you want to make? You got to be prepared to talk about that. I do know in some states now that's illegal. but they won't be asking that anymore. But you've got to be prepared for that salary question. And I know there's a recruiter who goes and says, well, why'd you leave your last job? And if you can't answer that really well, they will, they'll take you through step by step. Why'd you leave this job? Why'd you leave this job? Why'd you leave this job? Because they want to see if there's any issues, if there's anything else going on. So just sort of be prepared for that kind of, any of that information. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah, I tell you what,
I-
Alex, if you can, let's hold them to the very end. I want to make sure I get through this in case
Oh,
people have got
okay.
to jump off. I can hang on till noon, so
Okay.
we'll get your questions answered.
All right.
For interviewing, be sure to find out what is the next step going to be at the end of the interview. All right, if you have a phone interview. So what should I be expecting next? Will I hear somebody in the next couple of days? If I don't hear from them, can I call you back in a few days if I don't hear back from you? Be sure to always express even greater interest in the position. I mentioned here about an opening statement of enthusiasm. You have got to be prepared when you go in for an interview with a statement of, I'm excited to be here. This is really a great company. Thank you for having me here. You've got to explain to people right up front why you want the job. A job interview is probably usually over in the first 5 minutes. If you don't sell me in the first 5 minutes of a job interview, you're not going to sell me in the last 25 or the last hour. Well, it won't go an hour because if I'm not selling the first 5, you're not going to continue. You've got to be enthusiastic. You've got to be upbeat and ready to do things. And at the end of an interview, you've got to be asked to advance to the next step. You go back and explain, you talked about that you need to have somebody who does this, this, and this. I have these skills. I would love to advance to the next step. What would those next steps be? A great question that you can ask is, how do I compare to the ideal candidate? Never ask, how do I compare to the other candidates? Because you don't care about the other candidates. You want to know, how do you compare to the ideal candidate? All right, so here are a couple common mistakes that people make interviewing. Speaking too much or too little, okay? By spending too much time on the situation part of a star story, okay? You only have 45 to 60 seconds now, maybe 75 seconds. But, people, feel like, well, I've got to tell you the whole situation on how we solved the issue. No, here was the problem. Here's what I did. This is what the result was. People wander off into the weeds. Oops. Oh, okay. People wander off in the weeds a lot. I mean, they fill up the silence. If the recruiter doesn't say anything, they feel like they have to keep talking. You don't have to keep talking. If you tell them your story, and you can all say, did I answer your question? Would you like to know more? Would you like to know about a time when I did X, Y, Z? Also be careful about talking in generalities. You've got to be very specific. You have to mention metrics. Remember, metrics sell. That's what we talked about in our resume, that you want details. I want to know how you save people money. I want to know how many phone calls you had to answer at the front desk. I want to know how busy you are. How many lines did you have if you're, at the admin at the front, okay? Make sure you put it in context for the recruiter. You save the company $100,000, but you're an IBM that has, sales of $20 billion. That's a huge, $100,000 isn't a whole lot of money in theory. All right, other mistakes. Number one, forgetting to take credit or explain the contribution that you made. Now, we don't tend to want to talk about us. Okay, we've been grown up to, as we grew up, we were, taught to speak about, us, and it wasn't good to talk about me, but you need to talk about, this is what I did. This was my responsibility in the project. Don't talk about we, because we aren't being hired. The team that you used to work with is not being hired here. Be very careful about speaking negatively in any way about an interviewer, a previous boss, a coworker. Negative, don't be negative. You can't be negative, because that will kill you in an interview immediately. Because if you talk bad about them, you're probably going to talk about bad about us at some point. If you're in a panel interview, don't focus on just one interviewer. Be sure to spread your time around to the different people that you're talking about. The best thing is, if you can, every sentence you switch to the next person, if you can think about it. But even, so if the person in the middle asks the question, be sure to look at the person on both sides, if there's 3 people, just to make sure you do it. Now, this is when you're meeting in person. When you're meeting on a Zoom call, everybody is just on a screen. If you want to practice, here is a great way to practice interviewing. It's called the Dallas Pit Crew. They were available. They used to meet on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock, but now, because of COVID and not meeting in person anymore, they meet 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. They will put together a panel interview for you. They will put together an interview. So it's very, very simple. Just send a resume and a job description to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. Tell them when you're available for the next couple of days, or the next 2 to 4 days out. It takes them a couple of days to do it, and they will schedule a panel interview. I've been doing this since 2017. I've done over 125 interviews in those 3 or 4 years, and it's really interesting. They'll record it. They'll give you feedback after the interview. They'll do a half-hour interview, and then they'll give you 15 or 20 minutes of feedback and help perfect you do what they do. So it's a great way to practice. And then every Wednesday, we do interviewing. We talk about interviewing every Wednesday. We have a seminar every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Central. It's a 13-part workshop. It's put together by 2 experts, one guy who leads the Dallas Pit Crew, the practice interview team, and the guy who also leads the interview success workshop. The 2 of them got together. When I asked them, I said, hey, let's do something online. And they said, okay. I said, put together something. And they came up with a 13-part program. They thought 12 steps weren't enough. They had to come up with one more than 12 steps. So they went with 13. They never realized there's so much to know about interviewing to help you perfect what you do. So we do it every week. This Wednesday, tomorrow, our session is going to be avoiding interview crashes. And then during the month of April, we're going to have 4 different guest speakers talking about interviewing. And then starting in May, we will pop back in with the 13 sessions starting again for May, June, and July. All right, let's talk about networking a little bit briefly. Networking, number 1, don't spend all day in front of a computer. You've got to talk to people, okay? Now, this was really back when we were meeting in person. Nowadays, you have to sort of spend all day on a computer because you can't really go out. People are starting to go out a little bit, but don't spend all day just searching job boards online, okay? You want to have Zoom calls with people. You want to have phone calls with people. You want to meet other people. Only 5 to 10% of jobs are found online. 10 to 15% of jobs are found using a recruiter. But 75 to 80% of jobs are found via networking. Who do you know? Who do they know? Who can maybe help you? Very, very, very important. This is the way you're going to find your next job. And the numbers hold out. I keep track of the people who land in my Friday networking group. And it is, 8 or 9 people out of every 10. I was able to link in with somebody who got my resume to somebody who handed it off to the hiring manager or got it to somebody at HR. It makes all the difference when you can network your way in. When you network into a company, referrals have a 50% chance of getting an interview. 50% when you can get your resume hand delivered to a recruiter or a hiring manager, but only 2 to 3% chance of getting into a company just by filling out an ATS system, just by filling out that online application. It's very, very slight. Now, you may network into a company, your resume may get delivered to somebody, and you have a phone call with somebody. They may go and say, well, did you apply online? Well, I haven't done that yet. Well, please do, because I can't proceed any farther. I can't talk to you until you've applied online. Well, that's great, But by that point, you have a name, you have somebody you can actually talk to. You want to network with friends, family, past business associate, vendors, customers. There are lots and lots of options of people you can network with. You know, start with friends and family. Here's a great little tip. You should put out an email every 3 weeks. All of your friends and family, your church members, whatever, anybody you know. And then maybe have a separate email for any business and customers and vendor contacts that you've got. And in those emails, it's really simple. The first paragraph is, I want to thank Joe and Bob and Sue and Kim for their help over the last few weeks. Now you send this out blind copy, so nobody knows who else you're sending this to, but you just mention a few names. And then the second paragraph is, just as a reminder, I'm looking for a position as an X, Y, and Z, or XYZ. I would really appreciate it if you have any contacts at the following companies, please let me know. And list 3 or 4 target companies. Tell people where you want to work. I'm looking for a job in North Dallas. You are never going to get a response. I'm looking for a job in Plano. Never going to get a job or response. Never going to get a response. Tell them I'm looking for a job at Target or at Home Depot or at EDS or something. You have a much better chance of making that connection. And then thank them very much for their time. It'll be a big help. You should try to have 10 to 20 networking calls a week. Whoa, that's a lot of calls. Well, no, it's really only 2 to 4 a day. That means this right here, we're having a networking conversation right now, but reaching out to somebody else and just asking for you never ask for a job. When you're reaching out to people, you're asking for their advice. That's it. I'm just looking for your advice. Can you offer your advice? I'm trying to decide what I should be doing. Advice and suggestions. You want to have informational interviewing, and that's a whole nother topic. We talk about that. We'll have a session on that coming up in a few weeks about how to do an informational interview. So every Monday we do networking. Networking every Monday at 1 o'clock Central. I have all these different speakers who are going to talk about networking. So every week it's a different person, Mondays at 1 o'clock Central Time, talking about it. They all talk about networking, but they all talk about it from a little bit different angle. And they're all excellent speakers with great information. You will learn something every week. Okay, a little bit of bonus material. I'm going to go real quick because I know we're out of time here. If you visit our Career USA YouTube channel, I just checked this morning, there's 188 workshops online right now that we have recorded about networking, LinkedIn, interviewing, effective resumes, and the recordings from the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The presentation today that I'm doing right now, it'll be up on the YouTube channel later this afternoon. I will put it up there. It'll be 189. So on the YouTube channel, it looks like this. It's the Career USA YouTube channel. You want to make sure you click with a green arrow where it says playlist, and then look for the different topics underneath it. You can see North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, effective resumes, interviewing, LinkedIn. There's a new one for networking. Don't click on the video, but click where you see that purple arrow. And when you do that, up will come a list of all the different sessions in that playlist. And you can see titles. And if you need help with asking questions or discussing compensation, you can pick, and then you can watch that particular video. Another little tip, and I think I may have mentioned this before, if you're not early, you're late. To me, 5 minutes early is on time is late. Just respect people's time. Be there, be ready to go. If you're going to be for an interview, you're going to be early for an interview. It's the same for a Zoom call. You should be ready to go so we can talk when we're ready. Always include a signature line with all of your contact information on email, on a tablet, on your phone. Make sure that all of your details are on every email you send out. I get an email from somebody who says, Jeff, give me a call, Bob. Bob who? I don't know what Bob this is. You know, make sure that when you send an email, add a signature line. If you don't know how to do it, Google signature line with your mail application. And just because you have it on your PC doesn't mean it's going to be on your phone. You've got to go and add it to the app on your phone also. Make sure your display name says who you are. Look at this first one here, WSU Cougar 96. This person happened to graduate from Washington State University in 1996. They're the Cougars, but this is not an email to be using for a job search. Okay, you want something more professional. So please remember, join the CareerDFW and Career USA LinkedIn groups. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. CareerDFW and Career USA survives on donations. Please, if you're interested in buying the book, it's on Amazon. All the proceeds go to support CareerDFW. Let's see here. And please consider making a donation when you land your next great opportunity. The Senior Source does great things. You make a donation to the Senior Source or make a donation to CareerDFW to help us continue to do what we're doing. If your group, if your church or men's group or women's group or whatever is looking for a speaker, please contact me. I'm always willing to talk about this. I love talking about what CareerDFW does, how we can provide, how we can help other people. If you'd like to join our mailing list, please look right down there at the very bottom. Join the Career USA mailing list. You will get an email, 6 or 7 emails a week. You'll never get spammed because I control the list. But I will put out, you'll get the daily Zoom link, you'll get the daily Facebook link so you can connect with us and watch the programming. You'll know what programming is going on. I'll tell you what our career tip of the week is every week. So just send an email to Career USA Plus, subscribe at groups.io, and that would do that. So I'm going to stop sharing and let's open it up to questions. So Alice, you had a question.
Yes, talking about salary. I've been told different things. Yes, you should ask about salary, but mostly what I've read and what I've been told is no, at the interview, you don't want to ask them about salary unless they bring it up.
Right. The first one who brings it up loses.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let them bring it up. Let them bring it up, and but then the question is, you don't really want to answer. Here's the question about salary. When you go for an interview, you need to know what the salary, what the range should be. If they don't advertise it, you should go to salary.com or BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov. BLS.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't get it.
BLS.gov.
BLS.gov.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov.
Okay.
And look up Dallas, or whatever community you live in, look up the job title and find out what the range is. So if the range for a job is between $52,000 and $68,000 a year for the job, what you should tell people when they ask you for what's your range, what do you need to, what's your range for the job, how much salary do you need to make, average that. Don't tell them 62 to 50 or 62 to 58 or 52 to 68. What you want to say is, well, according to salary.com and the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the salary should be somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000 a year. I'm sure that whatever you pay will be fair and equitable. I love those words, fair and equitable, because it just, who's not going to pay, who's not going to be fair? Well, we don't pay fair salaries here. We try to undermine it. Okay, well then I don't need to work here. So, you give them a range. You give them a range to the range.
Okay.
But you need to go before an interview, and you've got to be prepared. You have to know what that is.
Okay. Okay.
Other questions? I know there were some in the chat box before. Let me see if I can find the old chat box here that I.
Hey, Jeff, this is John. Just a quick reminder. You mentioned you were going to show a resume for a gap, I think.
Okay. Yep. Give me 1 second here. Let me I'm looking at my questions from before.
Sure.
You see here, when using Carl asked, when using a master resume and you customize a job, what about gaps in dates on the customized resume? you still go ahead and you list the companies in chronological order that you work for. You just maybe only list one bullet point underneath it that would correspond with what you need to do. So you don't leave a 5-year gap, even though you work someplace for 5 years. You still go ahead and list the company. You just don't list a lot of details underneath it because that's not important. All right. Carl also asked, how far back should we list titles on LinkedIn? Now, this is up to you personally. This is my opinion. I list them all. I go all the way back to the first job I ever had. I list my first job I had when I got out of college. I went to work for the University of Louisville as a biotech engineer. And a biotech engineer, I was a television. I was in charge. I was a TV. I was TV camera person and editor. Biotech engineer doesn't say anything like what I did, but I list them all on there because on LinkedIn, when you put a company and you list all the information, you can go find other people who also worked at the University of Louisville from 1980 to 1984. Okay, it's one of the search features you can do. So I say put them all on there because you never know what old contact you may be able to make with somebody. If we use the ladders, should we use their recommendations? You have to remember, people tend to write bad reviews about companies, about any kind of company. They'll write a bad review about a restaurant, a business, a company faster than people write, oh, this company was great to work for. So it's just a way to know. And you know what? That bad review could be on a manager. You know, think about it. If you're working at IBM and there's 40,000 people who work at IBM, you have one bad manager. So the person writes a bad review on IBM. That's not necessarily saying that the other 20,000 managers were bad. That just means that that one manager was bad. So you got to be careful on how you do that. Let's see here. That brings up, if you fill out an application, provide references, how do you know if or when a company will be contacting references to let them know if they may be expecting a call? If you fill out an application and you give references, if you give those names to somebody, I would always let my contacts know, hey, just FYI, I just put your name on an application. I'm applying to, you know, XYZ company, and I just want to let you know that I've used your name. It asked for references and your name's on there. I'm applying for my job title that I'm applying for is X, just so they know.
Hey, Jeff, but I mean, that could be multiple companies for multiple positions. I mean, I would end up having to basically write job descriptions like the first person for like possibly two entirely different, not entirely different, but not quite in the same category. And I don't know, it just seems a bit confusing.
Yeah, I mean, once again, that's why I tell you, don't apply for jobs online, network your way into a company, okay? And then you only apply for a job online when you know you've got an inside contact, because when you only have a 1 to 2 or 3% chance of getting that phone call back, you know, I mean, people are applying, you know, they post a job, you apply, you and 300 or 500 other people apply for a job. If you're not in the top 10 or 15 or 20 people, as soon as they find 3 or 5 decent profiles, they stop looking. So if you're number 600 or 400 or 300, the chance of you getting a phone call is slim to none. But if you find somebody in the company who will hand deliver a resume to somebody and say, hey, you know, here's somebody you need to talk with, you have a 50% chance of getting a phone call. So, you know, as far as letting your as far as letting your contacts know, if nothing else, you just let your contacts know, your references know, I'm applying for jobs. If I'm asked to put something in, you know, I'll let you know when I apply to a different company, just so you're aware, because quite frankly, I don't answer my phone if I don't recognize the phone number. So you're gonna have to leave a message. So if you tell me that you're leaving a phone call with Target, and I know the Target may be calling me, at least that sort of helps me out a little bit. Okay. All right, let me show you, let me share my screen and I'll show you, let's see here, where to go. I guess I'll show you this screen here. All right, so here's my LinkedIn profile. Go here and I'll show you the person. I've saved her profile because I really like what she's done. So here's Christina. She's a global program manager. So if you see up here, and this is current jobs, okay? So she's showing her most recent job being her email address and her phone number. That's very interesting. Now, when we go down to her current job, well, let's see, let's look at her about profile. Let's see, contact information. She's got a phone number. She has an email address. If you don't want to put your phone number in here, use a Google Voice number, okay? You can talk about that. In her about section, she talks about who she is, different things. She uses a hashtag O&O, open to new opportunities, and once again has her phone number and email address in there. And then here's her current job. So May 2020 to present, 11 months. She's a project program manager. And here is what she's listed here. Now, I wouldn't list this here, supporting the Woodlands Church job search team, because this isn't telling me there's no results here. But what I'm saying though, I like this part up here where this is what she's looking for. This is the title of the company. She has a current job. She used to do these things at FlowServe. I would put a couple bullet points up here saying, this is what I do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now there's also one more thing. Let me show you one other thing if I can find it here. I have so many files. It's truly amazing. Let me show you our sample. On Thursdays, we talk about our sample resume. Let me get it over here. Come on. Okay, so here's our sample resume we use. Here is something really interesting you can do if you want something, if you don't want to quite do that. So you want to show you had a gap or you currently have a gap. I love this term, consulting and community leadership. What are you doing right now for the community? What are you helping with? I'm providing. So this person wasn't working from 2009 to 2010, but this is what they did to fill a gap. Or currently, I like the other option better, but this could also be used. This is also what you're currently doing, you know, and this is all as you're doing something free, just to help people. So if anybody wants this template, join us Thursday. We send it out every Thursday, or you're welcome to email me or, you know, text me through or email me through LinkedIn, and I'll be glad to send you this template. And this is our standard template that we use for LinkedIn. Notice this is not a hyperlink. You don't need to put a city, you don't need to put a street address, just city, state, and zip code, because a lot of recruiters search by zip code. So that's that. Any other questions? All right, well, Kim, thank you very much for having me. I don't know how many of these people you know from your group or how many of these people found me because of CareerDFW and, you know, the promotion stuff I put out, but we're glad everybody was with us today. Sorry about losing the internet connection. We went from 8 or 9 people on Facebook to only 3 right now. So thanks to the 3 of you who found us again.
Thanks for your time today, Jeff. It was great.
Great. Thank you all very much. So thank you. Please join us right there. Here's the schedule. Today at 1 o'clock, we talk about LinkedIn, interviewing on Wednesdays, effective resume Thursdays, and networking every Monday. So get your lunch and join us. Lunch and learn.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.